Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Friday. Tim in the woods. If I'm sit here quietly for a few minutes, I'm sure you'll hear the woodpeckers that are off to my left. There's two of them talking to each other. And thankfully my cockerel has decided to be quiet for there we go. There's lots going on. The garden and the energy and the air is starting to flow into spring. Spring is here. Spring is here. And also, alongside the beautiful spring energy, I'm experiencing what my friend Paul Debris Carey describes as fluctuating light upgrades, or flu, or the fancy flu. So as I had in August the very kind of like tough to navigate upgrade, I'm kind of getting another version of it at the moment. So this update might not be as long as the usual ones, but I'm just going to cover a few points because I know a lot of you are experiencing the same thing. Okay, now the beginning of this year we stepped through, or we had stepped through on the winter solstice of 2021, a vast gateway that had been opened, prepared, activated, set up by the Seraphim. Now on the other side of that gateway exists a new template of energy, but with that new template of energy that we are all existing in at the moment come a new set of rules and personal regulations. Okay, as we've upgraded, we then apply these different rules and regulations to ourselves, how we live our lives, how we treat ourselves, the things that we morning Roger the things that we on a daily basis teach or speak about or say that we apply. Now actually at this moment in time, as we're sailing through 2022, we are having to very clearly walk our talk or apply the things to ourselves that are in harmony with this gold print that we are vibrating in sync with, or attempting to vibrate in sync with. Paul Debris Carey and I had a wonderful Law of One Part 2 workshop last night. It was lovely. The energy flowed beautifully, and we were discussing about the simplicity but the essential application of where your attention goes, your energy flows. Okay, so with my personal process, as I was explaining, if you want to see a more in-depth report, go back to my videos from last August, and it was kind of documenting my experience and meeting what I can only describe as a COVID angel. Okay, now I'm going to use the trigger word. It's not quite so inflammatory on social media anymore, although the bots will probably scramble for it a little bit. So last August, when I got the fancy flu and I was feeling very poorly, and I met the over presiding angel for the particular energy of the upgrade that I was experiencing. Instead of this kind of like dark entity kind of thing that I was automatically expecting because of the association with it, I met this beautiful pink, white and blue angel who simply said, as with all bodily systems, upgrades, illnesses, viruses, everything that you experience, this is simply to release dense matter, energies that you don't need, and most importantly, patterns of behaviour that are no longer resonating with the trajectory of your pathway. So, having kind of gone through almost like a 6-monthly period since that one, my habits have slipped. I've started pushing myself too hard. I've started doing too much exercise. I'm not eating the things on a daily basis that I need to, and I certainly haven't been applying the rule of taking time for myself when I've needed it. So here she is again, rolled up in my fields the other night, and simply said, right, this is about balance this time. Okay, so you will balance your sleep, you will balance your food, you will balance your exercise, and I'm not going away until you do it. Okay, so as you can imagine, I've agreed to all of the diktats pretty quickly, And this I'm seeing everywhere. I'm telling you this story because it applies to me personally, but I believe it also applies to everybody who experiences these things. If we ignore them, they get worse. Okay, if we ignore our bodies and the way that our bodies are communicating with us, the body will protest. It will, the blockages that exist within the chakras will manifest themselves physically. The train of thought that we have known that we need to sort out but kind of get sucked back into, that is creating an adverse reality to the one that we want to experience. These are all being these are very much being highlighted at the moment. Our thought manifestation reality, the bounce back that we get when we create, when a train of thought leaves us and is assimilated by the universe and bounced back to us via the third eye. You project this out. It's so fast now, so fast. So we are creating and manifesting at an incredible rate of speed. I mean, I've given up trying to kind of put a percentage on it. When I spoke about for this the first time in 2014, I think it was like, oh, thought manifestation reality, we're no longer in 3D. We manifest our reality twice as fast, and it was 10 times as fast, then it was 2,000 times faster. So everything that we put out there now has an instant response from the energetic field that is feeding back to us. So it comes back to that glorious lesson of, where is your attention going on a personal level and on a field level? What field are you plugged into? Where have you, if you're feeling that fear, and Paul and I were talking about this last night, if you're feeling fear, what is triggering that fear? Does the fear belong to you? Is it fear of the unknown? Is it a threat for survival? If you've noticed, or if you've been watching, if you're aware of the narrative that flows from the screens of the mainstream media, all of a sudden they've completely dropped what they've been focusing on for the last 2 years, and they're now focusing on something else. Now, this is the subject that I was talking about in my last Friday video, the subject of conflict. Phase 1 failed, okay? And it's quite glorious to behold that in the last 2 years, the third dimensional matrix did absolutely everything within its power to lock down the global awakening, to keep it within fear, to keep our vibrations contained, not by soul choice, but by distraction, by illusion, by hypnotism. And it failed. In actual fact, what it did was create more awakenings, more realizations. The veils fell away from the third eyes even faster. And it's a very, very effective switch of narrative. If you look at what our attention has now been asked to focus upon, it's far more pressing. It's far more engaging. If the thought of personal illness didn't trigger all those alarm bells and get people back in their cages, the threat of conflict will. So, and I spoke to the Intergalactic Council about this. I said, like, right, okay, this is moved from one phase to another now. And they said very clearly, and I'm going to repeat these words because they are important, and I believe they've given me the foundation for what is occurring now. They said, what is occurring in your reality? It might be on the doorstep. You might actually see the conflict. You might actually be experiencing it. You might be unfortunate enough to actually be right within the center of it. Beware the illusion of war, okay? The illusion of war is created by men who seek power. And at the moment, that power it's in complete danger of dwindling completely, because the third dimensional matrix is losing all of its food. All of us have unplugged. Every time we unplug, you can see the light and the source of the source of resonance that it receives diminishing. So they are now trying to get everybody to focus on this creation. And it is a creation. If we put our energy into this creation, it will become real. If we don't, and we focus on love, peace, unity, groundedness, centeredness, harmony, that is what we will experience. So this is a very, very important and pivotal point of where we are. Again, it's working with these energies and watching the whole playbook become part, like very observable in my reality, is fascinating, because I heard the voices of the guides in the Intergalactic Council say this will be the next phase. I saw this coming. And like, when the collapse of a previous narrative is certain, then the next one will come through. But I think all of us were unprepared with the the speed at which it has landed upon our table. It's almost like you're having dinner somewhere, and you've had your starter, you've had your main course, and someone's filling up your drinks constantly, like, come on, get the wine down your neck, and then all of a sudden you've barely finished your last mouthful of a huge main meal, and there's whacking great desserts on your plate in front of you. Well, that's what's happened at the moment. We've got our dessert long before we feel like we're ready for it. But that is how the whole illusion is working. It's working to be as distracting as possible. Now, I know people will probably say, well, how can you say it's an illusion when it's actually happening? Energetically, this needs feeding in order for it to survive. Okay, it needs the focus of collective intention in order for it to become a manifestation. We have got an incredible lineup of galactics who are watching this process at the moment. We've got the Pleiadians, we've got the Arcturans, we've got Commander Ashtar, who has been monitoring the comings and goings of this galaxy since long before we were actually toddling around in our little physical bodies on this planet, incarnating as masters in physical, and hosts of other beings who are here at hand, holding the energy stable. All we need to do is begin to water the seeds that we've already planted. Okay, again, I will say that the ascension process is a done deal. Okay, we're ascending. There's no ifs or buts about it. The fifth dimensional matrix, the gold print that we're moving into, is a cert. It's not something that we're talking about in workshops anymore, or wistfully kind of communicating about in our little private groups. We can all feel it. We access it on a daily basis, but we bounce in and out of it depending on the focus of our intention. But in order to make sure that we are all flowing smoothly into that, we need to do it with as least hiccup, as fewer hiccups in between as possible. And at the moment, we're being presented with the potentiality of quite a large hiccup. So the message that I received at the beginning of it, and the one that I will probably be coming back to again and again and again, despite what we are being shown, is focus on peace. Do not focus on fear. Okay, you will be fed fear if you want to be fed fear. If that's what you're looking, if you're looking at the fear menu, if you're ordering dishes off the fear menu, then that is what you will feed and nourish your soul with, your bodies with, your mental and your emotional bodies. That is no longer food that resonates with us. So we want to be ordering off the other menu. And once we start doing that on a regular basis, once you are looking at all of the situations that are occurring on Earth from a higher perspective, it becomes it becomes a lot easier to engage with anything that is occurring on this planet from a point of loving detachment. That doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean that you don't feel for situations, for people, for the stuff that's happening. It means that you can act on the promptings of your heart rather than the promptings of your ego, or the kind of like the wounded aspect of your emotions that are kind of being drawn into something because they've been triggered. Now, also, I've seen a great big parallel with the fall of Atlantis to what is occurring at the moment. And I've seen this happening for the last 2 years. All of the fear releases, everything that has been triggered and being come up, we have experienced before. We have experienced it before, so therefore it rings our alarm bells. We're thinking, we don't want to experience that again. We don't want stuff falling from the sky that's going to cause destruction. We don't want people that wish us harm kind of like on the doorstep. But this is only going to go or flow in that direction if we allow it. Now, I could quote Archangel Jophiel and the power of a single I am presence every day. I tell myself every day. But there are millions of us around this planet now. We've all been triggered into action. We all know what our jobs are. If we don't know what our jobs are, then we're kind of riding the flow until they are presented to us. The gifts and the talents. Now more than ever, we are needed to anchor light. Okay, if you're going to focus on a situation, make sure you're anchoring light into that situation. Okay, so say you want to focus on what is going on in Europe, on the border of Europe and Russia. Anchor light in, pillars of light. Okay, you can never have too many pillars of light. You can never have too much violet flame. You can never have too many angels or dragons or unicorns or ascended masters added to a situation. Be constructive with your focus, okay? Where attention goes, energy flows. What are you creating at the end of it? Okay. Now, it's March now. I love March. By August, we are going to be seeing the switching off of the storm layer. Again, if you want to know what the storm layer is, go to my website, www.timwild.com, and punch in storm layer into the search bar, and you will receive or see the videos and the information that I've written about it previously. And so that tells me between now and August is going to be the final flurry. Between now and the Lion's Gate is going to be the final push, the final flurry to release everything that we are carrying within ourselves and that Mother Earth is carrying within her kind of the akashics, her archives, that's contained within the land that needs or is going to be processed by the storm layer. The storm layer, the alchemical, the layer of alchemy that is circling our planet very, very quickly, just between the ground and the clouds, is a layer that was activated by Merlin and the Intergalactic Council, which moves a bit like a cyclone, removes all of the lower frequency energies and turns it into light, basically, uses it as fuel, and has been doing so since August 2019, the Lion's Gate in 2019 when it was activated. So by August this year, we will have navigated through the most intensive 3-year process that we have ever seen on this planet, especially in the new vibrations. Of course, there have been intensive things that have occurred on this world in the last 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 years, but none of them were done in this vibration. None of them were subject to the laws of the 4th dimension where transition occurs. So we've moved from 3D to 5D and we're halfway through. The central point is the most chaotic, and that is where we are at the moment. After that, we start straightening the things out that we want to experience. We have concrete, solid, 5th dimensional vibrations and gold prints to move into. So it's a case of learning where to focus, how we're focusing. And I suppose the whole moral of this talk, with this kind of presentation this morning, is it all starts with us, okay? What we apply to the outside world needs to begin with us. It's a bit like, you know, if you were a young person and you were just moving out into your own house, it would really help you to have learned the basics before you do so. learn how to hoover, learn how to use the washing machine. You can tell that I've had a house full of boys that I've grown up with as children. All of these essential skills that you take into the new place. So I'm still learning. You will still be learning. And this year is about setting, particularly I feel for March, it's very much about setting very, very strict boundaries with ourselves and allowing ourselves to flow. And when I say boundaries, I mean actually working on the things that we need to work on, applying these things that we know to ourselves so that we can transform into a higher vibration, that we can live in a state of love rather than being constantly pulled back into that field of fear whenever it calls, because it will continue calling. Okay, that's not going to go away. It's not going to suddenly, oh right, they've stopped playing now. They're going to continue until they can continue no more, and that will be a continual distraction if we allow it to be so. So, as within, so without; as above, so below; as within, so without. That applies, and yeah, the energy of March is going to be a lot brighter, a lot higher, and a lot finer if we've allowed ourselves to plug into it. There's options, okay? Now, Mia Kafkios and I from Grow by Mia will be beginning our 6-month Ascension journey on the 24th. We've got a question and answer coming up soon. We'll let you know about the details of that. And yeah, if you're feeling the effects of the upgrades at the moment, take time out. Take time for yourself. If you can't pour from an empty cup and you need to make adjustments or applications, do so, because you are the center of your universe. Sending you all loads of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.